So again, we find that it is President Donald Trump against another late night TV host. I will tell you all about it coming up today on The Hollywood Conservative for the Rebel. Late night TV host / comedian Stephen Colbert. I don't know if you can really even call him a comedian or his writers comedians, because their repertoire of comedy for the last 3 years has consisted pretty much 99% bashing President Trump and his policies. So Stephen Colbert gave an interview at Paley Fest, and he was discussing the fact that late night TV hosts basically are very transparent in their hate and disdain for this president, and they don't ever miss an opportunity to bash him. So Stephen Colbert says this: I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying what this person is doing to families and the nation is horrible. So I emailed my editor and I said, I really just want to kind of take this opportunity to talk about what the president has done. And I have this printed off from whitehouse.gov, 10 pages long, printed both sides, talking about the president's accomplishments. And I couldn't possibly go through all of them because it would take hours upon hours upon hours. So I highlighted just some of my favorites, so let's go through those. With regards to the economy, this is the 8th time this year that the unemployment rate has been below 4%. Prior to this year, the unemployment rate had fallen below 4% only 5 times since 1970. The unemployment rate for African Americans this past May fell to 5.9%, which is the lowest point ever on record. Continuing on with economy, African American and Hispanic American poverty rates reached record lows of 21.2% and 18.3% respectively in 2017. Manufacturing added 284,000 jobs in 2018, the most added since the year 1997. More than 6 million workers across America received tax cut bonuses and benefits. More than 100 utility companies have announced lower rates. Of course, not here in Los Angeles. They love to jack up our prices because the state's going broke, basically. More than 185 companies and associations have signed our pledge to America's workers, promising more than $6.4 million, new training and career opportunities. The women's unemployment rate recently reached its lowest rate in 65 years. The Small Business Administration lent approximately $500 million more in capital to women-owned businesses in 2017 compared to 2016. But this president hates women, right? The administration helped launch the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative, which could leverage more than $1 billion to support female entrepreneurs. Again, this president hates women, though, guys. Speaking of regulations, President Trump's administration surpassed the 2-to-1 ratio in 2018. That, of course, was part of this president's campaign promises, promising that he would eliminate 2 regulations for every new one implemented. In 2017, the Trump administration eliminated 22 regulations for every new one. Since taking office, President Trump's deregulation efforts have achieved $33 billion in regulatory savings. President Trump announced the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, which would have harmed America's economy and cost American workers millions of jobs. President Trump signed legislation to roll back the burdensome Dodd-Frank regulations that harmed community bankers. Let's see. Moving on to American energy. America is the largest crude oil producer in the world, and production has hit a record high. In 2017, the United States became a net natural gas exporter for the first time in 60 years. American coal exports increased by more than 60% in 2017. In July of 2018, the Department of the Interior announced that it would hold the largest oil and gas lease sale in history. The administration issued permits for the new Burgos pipeline that will export American petroleum products to Mexico. There's like 15 more in that section that I could read, but this video I think is already getting kind of long. Okay. The administration expanded short-term, limited-duration health insurance plans that are expected to be nearly 50% cheaper than subsidized Obamacare plans. Don't get me started on Obamacare because I could do an entire video on that. Americans have more healthcare freedom thanks to the president signing legislation that ended Obamacare's individual mandate penalty. Thank goodness. This year, Americans will benefit from more insurer participation on the exchanges. In 2018, the Federal Drug Administration, FDA, obviously approved a record number of generic drugs, breaking the previous record set by the administration in 2017. The FDA's fiscal year 2017 generic drug approvals are expected to bring nearly $9 billion in savings. Oh, let's see. This is a big one. President Trump signed right to try legislation to expand access to experimental treatments for terminally ill patients. I don't understand why this hasn't been a thing before. If you have received a terminal diagnosis, I don't think that there is any reason for the government to tell you what you can or cannot try to save your own life. Let's see. Standing up for the sanctity of life, President Trump defunded a United Nations agency for colluding with China's brutal program of forced abortion and sterilization. The Trump administration proposed new regulations to ensure Title X family planning funding does not go to organizations or projects that perform, support, or refer patients for abortion. The Department of Justice prosecuted a number of criminal immigration offenses in fiscal year 2018 and increased the number of prosecutions for illegal entry by 28% over fiscal year 2017. Let's move on to military because I've still got too many points in that last section. President Trump ended the devastating defense cuts of the past administration and has secured historic investments to rebuild our military. President Trump signed legislation providing $700 billion for defense in fiscal year 2018 and $716 billion for this year. President Trump is supporting America's men and women in uniform, securing the largest military pay raise in more than a decade. President Trump empowered our military commanders with broad authority in order to take the fight to ISIS, and the results are clear. This is what I've been talking about over the last few years. The president has removed those restrictions, the things that handicapped our military, and the regulations that kept them from being able to do their job and actually defeat ISIS. And as a result, ISIS has lost nearly all of its territory, more than half of which has been liberated since President Trump took office. All of ISIS's territory in Iraq was successfully liberated. ISIS's self-proclaimed capital city of Raqqa has been recaptured. The president announced that Department of Defense will work to create a space force. This is when I kind of nerd out. Space force to serve as an independent branch of the United States military. The remains of Palmyra, of course, prisoners of war, missing in action service members from the Korean War are returning to the United States. Some of them already have been. This is all in regards to North Korea, where negotiations are still ongoing. The president withdrew the United States from the UN Human Rights Council due to its bias against Israel, our ally. President Trump followed through on his promise to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and move our embassy there. And we at the Rebel, a lot of us, were there last year, and it was amazing. The president's leadership in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, of course, has encouraged members to increase their defense spending and realign the alliance's priorities. So here's a funny thing. I think only 5 of the 28 nations in NATO were actually contributing the 2% that they were required to. The United States has been contributing 3.6%. But in 2017 alone, there was an increase of more than 4.8% in defense spending among NATO allies. That's what happens when you have a leader like President Trump who puts the pressure on people to do the right thing and to follow through on their commitments. Yeah, I've still got 7 pages left, but I feel like that's enough. So you guys, I feel like you need to watch this video over and over and over again and write it down on your brain, these accomplishments, because people like Stephen Colbert and even just lay people in life come up to me all the time and say, you know, this president is destroying our country, the world is going to collapse. And you ask them, you say, why? And they can't give you a single reason. It's astounding to me that they can keep saying these things without having any cognitive dissonance about the truth behind it or lack thereof. Yeah, you can't just say things and wish that they're true, because they're not. And that's how lies get spread. Anyway, hope you're all having a fantastic Wednesday. I'm Amanda Head, the Hollywood conservative for The Rebel. If you enjoyed my commentary and opinions, we have an unlimited supply of them here at The Rebel. So like and subscribe and make sure you click that bell symbol so you never miss a video. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for all of our latest news, and download our app for the Rebel Media on the App Store. That way you'll have easy access to all of our latest videos and your favorite Rebel shows. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Amanda Head for The Rebel.